that'd be fabulous, thank you. Lovely. So I hope you're thoroughly refreshed now after that. And I'd now like to introduce you to some very special people for us to have a chat to about their our work. And that's volunteers from the Hinckley and Bosworth Fairtrade Forum, the group which is organised today's event. So will you please welcome and give a warm welcome to Carol, Barbara, Rosemary, Philip and Vicky. Lovely Fairtrade t-shirt as well. Oh, was that Fairtrade as well? Excellent. Excellent stuff. So these are the guys, basically the core of the Fairtrade Forum here in Hinckley and Bosworth. Obviously, we're all volunteers and do a sterling job each year. Many of them, I'm a mere child in terms of my involvement, which is about 7 or 8 years, I think, now. So if I can ask you all, and we'll go along, if I can ask you first of all why you first became interested in Fairtrade. So Philip first.
Well, I was cajoled into coming into the Fairtrade Forum. In the early days, I used to work at Hinckley Library, and the library was asked for a representative to join the forum, because the library staff room is a Fairtrade staff room. And the idea was that the forum may like to put exhibitions on in the library, and that came into my remit at the time, all those years ago. Stayed with me after retirement because I now represent Hinckley District Museum, which also has a Fairtrade public tea room, which is literally across the road.
Excellent, and like any organisation, we have admin and other things as well, and Philip is our secretary, which is a very important job. Barbara, why did you first get interested in Fairtrade?
I was on the management team of the Lion Christian Bookshop, which I still am, in Hinckley, and we were asked for a retailer to come and be on the Fairtrade Forum, and it was going to be one of the other people, but they couldn't do the times that we meet, so I said I'd do it, and I've been doing it ever since the beginning.
You're a bit of a thingy, wasn't there, here, folks? Rosemary, please say you won't cajole.
Church, I suppose, and churches have always been very much at the forefront of promoting fair issues across the world, and I think I always had a heart for what was happening to other people in other places, and very much involved with the St Mary's always had a wonderful Fairtrade corner right from the word go, and with a wonderful lady there who promoted it really well, and Reverend Brian Davis, if you remember, he was very much a mover and shaker as well. So we all got very involved with that with the Fairtrade movement. And Jubilee 2000, there were all sorts of things, trade justice, make poverty history. We went on all the marches and what have you. With Brian.
Like a student again.
Brian at the helm, yes. I mean, I actually belong to a Methodist church, but no, the churches work together and the towns work together on promoting fair trade, and the Fairtrade Forum came out of that melting pot.
Excellent. And Vicky?
Well, I've been involved with Fairtrade now for over 20 years, really. And that started when I visited a church in Leicester and saw a Fairtrade stall. Came back and said to our rector, I'm a member of St Catherine's Church in Burbage, can we do a Fairtrade stall? He said, yes, get on with it. So that's what I had to do. And we don't sell that much, particularly nowadays with Fairtrade being in supermarkets, so we buy ours through St Mary's. We have that on a sale or return basis, so that makes it very convenient for us really, not selling very much. It comes to us all priced up, so it's relatively easy. I've also been involved in the Fairtrade holidays. I've been to South Africa and to Cuba, so seen it firsthand, and I know what it means to the producers. So I'm still very keenly promoting it.
Actually, more about those holidays in a moment. They sound fantastic. Karen?
Well, I first became interested in fair trade, or trading fairly, when I lived in Papua New Guinea. I saw the plight of the coffee producers there, who would produce their coffee and they would sit at the side of the road waiting for the coffee buyers to come round, and they were subject to their whims. If it had been a good harvest in Brazil, then Papua New Guinea coffee would be very low in price. If it had been a bad harvest in Brazil or elsewhere in the world, then the coffee price would be high. And it meant for them that, I mean, I was at a school, it meant for them that perhaps for the next year their children couldn't go to school. And it was just totally unfair. And visiting a coffee plantation, I went round as a visitor, and this chap who was showing us round was talking about units. And, oh, we lost 2 units last year. And it didn't dawn on me until partway through that he was actually talking about people. And the 2 units they'd lost were 2 people who hadn't been using the pesticides properly and had died. So, fair trade, I was interested in it. I have family members who work for Tradecraft in Gateshead, and then Philip invited me, not cajoled me, to come on to the Fair Trade Forum, and was very happy to do so.
And of course it's Tradecraft Week, isn't it, this week? It is. Tradecraft Week this week. Just going to put that. I saw that on Twitter, there we go. So, if we start and go on this way, what's your favourite fair trade item, Carol?
Bananas.
Why bananas?
I just like bananas.
They make short ones.
They do, they're often shorter, aren't they? They're much easier to eat.
Too much.
Well, any sort of fruit really, but it's more difficult getting other fruits. You
In
can't
a
get...
smoothie, Carol, or just...
No, just as a banana.
Okay, lovely. Vicky?
Chocolate probably comes to mind first of all. I just really like the dark chocolate. They do high percentage ones, so I like it. You don't need to eat too much of it.
I also like chocolate, not that you could tell. Rosemary?
Well, I do very much like the chocolate that they have with the chilli in. There's none on the stall, I think it's because I bought it up. We went into town and bought some just the other day. But I think the crafts are just fantastic. Once upon a time, the handicrafts used to be very much sort of ethnic-y looking, and perhaps very much of they had a look, all of them, you either liked it or didn't. And then they've gone out and worked with producers, so we've got styles and things that we might actually like to have in our homes. There's some absolutely beautiful things made out of soapstone and wood, and the craftsmanship and the effort that's been put in, it's brilliant. So I think I very much like those sorts of things.
Okay. Barbara?
Well, I like the caramel chocolate, but again, I like the crafts and some of the jewellery is so reasonably priced for it being fair traded.
And Phil?
Well, I suppose I ought to say banana really, because it's part of Fair Trade Fortnight. And they might get involved next year through Fair Trade Fortnight. I'll dress up as the banana man and we give out bananas and chocolate biscuits to...
You can always be seeing the paper each year, dressed as
Where am I going to get my photographs for the Hinckley Times from?
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay, great. So, let's talk about our work then on the forum. Maybe start with Vicky this time. What does the forum do?
Well, we meet on a fairly regular basis. We meet in fair trade venues, so cafes around Hinckley and Bosworth. we try to promote fair trade as much as we can, get people interested, including getting the council interested. I mean, what I personally like to see would be on the entrance to Hinckley saying it's a fair trade borough, as a lot of boroughs do. But we've not got there yet.
You never know.
Yeah,
you never know. Caroline, you want to add to that? What's your favourite part of being part of the forum?
I like helping Barbara on the stalls. I mean, Barbara does an awful lot of work in the stalls together. We go to things like the over 55s day, and tomorrow we're going to
Norton Juxta
Thank you,
Twycross
I've forgotten
Summer
the
Fair.
name.
If you've got grandchildren or children that love fun, it's a really fun day out.
It's out near Twycross, isn't it?
Yeah, they do all kinds of silly stalls besides sensible stalls, and a lot of the half of what they make on that goes to the air ambulance, and the rest goes to support the local village and the church and the community hall and things like that. But that's the bit I enjoy most, is doing the fair trade stalls around the borough. I do one regularly once a month in Burbage at the farmers market, while the farmers market's on. And I have various other ones that come up occasionally. So if there's a stall going, then it's usually me that goes out and does the donkey work and packs it all up and puts it all away.
And Rosemary, what's your favourite part of being part of the forum?
Well, I'm often helping Barbara with the store as well, and I like going around the coffee shops and networking with people and talking to people and asking them whether they're serving fair trade coffee and that sort of stuff.
Now come on, be honest though, Rosemary, how much pressure do you put on them to, when you go in, to get them to get fair trade?
We have variable success. I mean, we often go into places and we know full well they haven't got fair trade, but you have to sort of make yourself say, well, have you got some fair trade coffee? Have you ever thought of having it? And it takes a bit of effort.
Some of them don't know what fair trade
No, that's
coffee is.
right.
They have to explain it first, don't they?
We do have places in.
One person asked me, I don't know how to make fair trade coffee.
But we do have successful places. We have the Leisure Centre, are very good at putting on the wall behind their counter. We serve fair trade coffee. We have others that do it if you ask, the Coffee Rio. They will serve fair trade coffee, but you have to look really hard to find the poster.
And they have fair trade paintings in there.
They have fair trade paintings in there, actually on the wall, done with fair trade coffee. If you haven't actually noticed, go in there and have a look at those. They're quite outstanding. We did that in one of the fair trade fortnights. We're very active in fair trade fortnight, doing different events around and about. We have had a fair trade fashion show once upon a time at the college.
Dresses for
when we had somebody who with really good links with the college. So
that was praised actually by the foundation.
Greg's sell fair trade coffee. I don't know if you know these things. You would think that the co-op, the co-op cafe does serve fair trade coffee, but doesn't actually. We want more signs. We'd love to see more signs up and around. We go often to Cornwall, and you see, going through the towns there, you see it all the time on the boards outside with the fair trade origin coffee, and it would be lovely to get that sort of profile around this area, but it's an uphill struggle.
And Philip, what's your favourite part? Is it the dressing up as the banana? Is that your favourite part?
Yes.
And that's part of Hinckley Readers, isn't it, with the children?
Yes, every Tuesday morning, the times are going to change from next month with the library plug. They have an under fives session on months and stuff with stories, and they do finger games and such like, with their parents and guardians participating as appropriate. And during Fair Trade Fortnight each year, put in a guest appearance along with the mayor of the day, this morning, Janice. We distribute bananas and the chocolate chip cookies, samples over there on the table there, which are provided through the co-op, Atkins Building co-op, as their contribution towards Fairtrade Farm. It's great fun.
I have to ask, are you both dressed as bananas when you do this?
No. The mayor is... No need to worry, that's good, Johnny. So I've got some things to ask you kind of individually, and starting off with Fairtrade holidays, Vicky. I mean, just tell us a little bit more about that and how they came about, what you saw and experienced there.
Well, it came about because I'd been to South Africa with my daughter and got knocked off the flight coming back, so I got a free flight. And I knew Tradecraft through a company called Skedaddle did holidays to South Africa, so I went on a South Africa trip. And we did an awful lot of miles. We actually flew up to the northeast, went to the west coast and then all down the west coast, visiting various producers. And there's one or two that stick out in my mind for various reasons. One where they'd used the premium, the farmers were working in a cooperative, they'd used the premium, first of all to build a school for their children, and then to build irrigation. Because although they were near the Orange River, it was desert-like land. But they took it in turns then to have the water onto their land. And the farmer that we were speaking to actually pleaded with us to continue selling Fairtrade. Because it meant so much to them, because they could use the money in the ways that they had them to help them. We went to another one, which wasn't a good experience really, and our driver wasn't impressed with them at all. They were using the premium to set up a nursery. It was a very dark nursery. It was a bare floor, it wasn't well presented at all, and our driver said straight away they're using Fairtrade to get the women to work, and Tradecraft don't use them anymore in actual fact. We did go to one which, that was a wine producer. We went to another wine producer which was very good. They had an apprentice, wine, I think it was called a wine producer, and they'd taken him all through the stages over years. He'd started on the farm and gradually worked through and become a wine producer, which was sort of top of the tree wine producer. And various people on the farm, where they'd built housing for them, we actually went to a house which they were setting up as a bed and breakfast, but they were still practicing, and they got the women from they worked on the land originally, and they trained them in it wasn't quite silver service, it was the plates were sort of set in front of you and the meal was plonked in front of you. But I mean, they were very willing, and that's what they were working towards. They didn't feel that they were ready yet for the bed and breakfast. But that's how they'd used their premium.
So in lots of different ways?
In different ways,
yeah,
yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Carol, you mentioned briefly about Papua New Guinea, but again, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's a country almost as far away as you can get from here on the equator. Up in the highlands they produce coffee. On the coast and on some of the outlying islands they produce cocoa. But the working conditions then, and I'm going back to the late 1970s, were appalling. I don't know whether any of the producers there are Fairtrade anymore, are they?
I think they still have some coffee, but I don't know much about it.
It's a very, very remote country. It's only had one road going from the coast up to the Highlands. Anywhere else you had to fly. But it was very much a culture where you relied on one crop. And if that crop failed, if we had a frost in the Highlands, the coffee would fail. And if we had a tsunami, a typhoon down on the coast, then the cocoa would fail. But the producers worked for themselves, they worked for their village, but they were not allowed to process the coffee in the country because that was something that the Australians did. So they could export their coffee to Australia, have it processed, and then re-import it so that the coffee within the country, the profit for that was going to Australia rather than to the producers.
And I wanted to ask you, ladies, Barbara and Rosemary, we heard a little bit about the rice earlier on, but it has been quite an achievement, hasn't it, the sales of the Kilimanjaro rice. So how did we first start selling those locally? What was the story behind that?
I'm not sure
I don't know how we started. Well, I think it must have been Sarah Shepherd who told us about it, and we thought that would be a good idea. We have an event in November every year called Alternativity, which is an alternative Christmas gift market organised by a group of churches. And basically you have this list of things you can buy, virtual gifts, you can buy
various charities.
From different charities, you can from local to worldwide charities, and you don't get the person just gets a card saying you've been bought a pig that's going to somebody in such and such a country, all sorts of creative things. So we thought, well, this rice, you have to have it in batches of 90. Perhaps we could add it onto this event, and goes a bit against it because you actually had to buy the product on the day, but they let us do it, and we started off selling one batch of 90 from Alternativity in November, ordering a second batch in February for Fairtrade Fortnight, and the first 2 years I think we managed to shift 180 bags in 2 years, and then we flagged a bit and we've slowed down. We now have one batch a year. But we're on our 10th batch, and the rice is sold for £3 a bag. It's a kilogram. You can get. First of all, we only did white rice, then people asked for brown, so now we have the white and the brown. Comes down in a lorry from Scotland, this batch of 90, and then we cart it places and sell it through the year. And it's the most beautiful rice. I was explaining to some people. It says on the packet, aromatic. It's African rice. You can't get African rice in the shops. Generally speaking, and it really is a lovely product. So we've got a lot of followers now who come especially looking for this rice, and if you want to buy some today, we have some.
And I just wanted to say a little bit about going to schools, talking about Fairtrade, which is probably my favourite part of being part of the forum. And we've got the young pupils coming from Redmore High School later on to show you what
they're actually sitting in the car park now, waiting to come.
Oh, okay, there we are. So they are here, which is fabulous. And they'll talk very eloquently, I'm sure, about the project that they come up with as part of the challenge we set them. But I mean, is it officially part of the curriculum now?
In places, yeah.
Yes, because they always seem to.
Because sometimes it's in geography and sometimes it's in PHSE or citizenship or whatever it is. But yeah, in geography it is.
Because they all seem very knowledgeable, which is fantastic to have the future generations knowing so much about it. But going into schools is my favourite part of being part of the forum. Philip, can I ask you, why would you encourage? I mean, we're basically the core, aren't we? And we've been involved for a very long time. And for a very long time in the future, I'm sure. But we do need some new people as well, don't we, to be involved. Why would you encourage someone to be involved in the forum? And we'll go along. So, Philip, dressing up as a banana. Yeah.
Difficult to say, really, but obviously we do need younger people. Quite a few of us are retirement age. And various efforts have been made over the years to encourage people. And the mailing list for the forum meetings goes out to quite a range of folk. but obviously not everybody's able to make the day of the week or the time that we normally meet. We also have a social side to it as well, because we do have some informal lunchtime meetings as an encouragement, hopefully.
Very nice
to attract people. Trying out different venues around the borough, not just Hinckley Town, who serve some fair trade products.
So I think this will probably be our final question. So again, why would you encourage someone to be involved? Barbara?
We need new blood, basically.
We need new people, but we need some new faces to give us some new ideas and perhaps increase our enthusiasm.
Rosemary, would you agree with that?
It's very worthwhile, isn't it? It's such a worthwhile thing to be involved in, and we need people who've got a passion for it and want to promote it.
Well, I must admit, I think we've already recruited one new person today, which is fantastic. So would you say the same now?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you always need new ideas, and you can't get stale. So, yes, please, anybody who's interested.
I have to say, when Vicky was doing her stall all those years ago, after I came across Vicky's stall as just wandering through. I thought I really like the stuff on this stall, and I always had in my mind that I'd like to do something similar, and eventually I did, but Vicky was the person who was there when I first spotted and had this range of products.
Well, I must admit, I first got involved when Jane Nietzsche, I don't know, is she around now? Is she? Just nipped out for a second, who's the Borough Council Climate Change Officer, who has fair trade as part of her role at the council, had put something in the Hinckley Times, the local newspaper, obviously most of you know, just a little article about appealing for new members at the time, gosh, about 7 or 8, maybe more years ago now, and I just went along to one of their meetings, and again have stayed ever since and got really involved. So I mean, it's fantastic. So I mean, would you want to add anything, Carol, to that?
Well, just that we're very nice people to meet with.
We go to some very nice places.
Please do thank our volunteers, they're fantastic.